Cool. So we've got an exciting batch of videos to go over today. A bunch of us competed yesterday at NAGA in Hickory. We're joined today, as always, after comp classes or after comp sessions with Coach Luke.
Yo.
We're going to dig in. We're going to go over the footage from all the adult matches. What's up, Steven? And see what we learned and see where to go from here. So let's get started. We're going to start off with Duncan's match. All right. I'm going to... we don't need to speed it up. Yes, Luke bit the bullet on a green screen. All right, so quick right off the bat, this guy came in pretty hot against Duncan. Really heavy collar tie, goes to this outside trip, kind of weaving around Duncan's leg, going for the knee tap. Duncan really doing a lot to try to frame this guy. He's coming forward pretty hard. Not doing much to get Duncan's knees out of the way, though. I almost feel like Duncan was looking to establish a close guard there, and the guy just beat him around the corner.
I was in the corner on this one, and I was really happy with Duncan listening to the coaching. I was trying to get him to get his frames in. You could see like the excitement oftentimes when, it's Duncan's first competition too, right? But you could see him going like over top of the head rather than getting his frames back in. So my advice to him was getting your frames in, getting your knee to the elbow and all of that. And he was doing a really good job of trying to implement those in action. So he did a really good job there. I thought that was going to be the win. Like I thought that was when we were going to see Duncan on top. He did a really good job of getting a frame in front of the throat, and really starting to bridge in order to get the guy off of him. Just wasn't able to capitalize on a scramble up.
Yeah, that's the guy beat him on the. He won the head height battle. His opponent won the head height battle here, and that was enough to keep Duncan on his back.
And you could also see the different, so Duncan also went for an overhook rather than an underhook. So when he was coming back up, I think he could have won the hip heist if he would have shot his left arm under and tried to fight for the underhook.
Yeah, his best bet right there. So back a millisecond. So if he's gonna lose the underhook, which we both, I think everyone agrees, probably won the underhook in this situation if we can get it. But if we don't have the underhook, where Duncan has his right arm, he should really try to keep that grip right there, right behind the tricep. So as he starts to come up, I lost the underhook on my left side, but I'm going to collapse the right arm. So that way I can push my hips forward, and right there, right? If he takes out his base, easier reversal there. And then a little bit more forgiving of not having that underhook.
Yeah, at the very least, he was able to re-guard here, which was really nice. Now, his opponent is pretty long, and he was able to capture Duncan's right arm behind his back. And I think we all know they're dry, right? Like this was the first match of the day for both of them. So we all know how annoying it can be when somebody grabs your wrist like this and just pins it behind your back.
Yeah.
So really tough to wrist roll out of that.
Yeah, the thing about that grip is if you're locked in close guard, it's not like for Duncan's opponent right now, he's just kind of causing a stalemate. Like he's not going to do anything that's going to get Duncan to open that guard if Duncan doesn't want to. So it's a fun grip to get because it could be, arresting. But like, how is he going to pop open the legs right now? How is he going to frame Duncan's hips and keep him down? So if he had already, if he was working from a top half guard, if you had some sort of leg pin down, could be a little bit more useful. Yeah. It was a good attempt from Duncan there to try to keep the guard.
I was telling him to get his hands on his hips, and you could see him. He was going on the outside of on his right side. He's going outside of the arm rather than trying to pummel on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to adjust my coaching strategy here to be a little bit more explicit. But yeah, that was an interesting. I didn't expect him to, want to push all the way through.
Yeah. I like what Duncan was doing, trying to like foot pummel to get that guy's grapevines off. Certainly one way to do it, and that's also, that's the beginning of working on your elbow escape when someone's grapevining you like that. Working to a high mount now.
He did a really good job of keeping his composure here and not, just like throwing his hands up like you see a lot of people do, right, when they're getting ridden up really high in mount, how they let their elbows go and stuff. Duncan keeps his elbows tucked nice and low, keeps his arms safe. He's doing a good job here. And again, to his credit, he doesn't stop bridging all the way through the end of this match.
Yeah, unfortunately though, his bridge at this point isn't going to do too much. I mean, it might if the guy starts bugging his neck, like it's a good way to get the hands off. But I really would like to see him trying to shoulder walk back a little bit earlier, because you're right, like he has his forearms in the right place, framing the hips. But as this guy starts riding to this higher mount, he needs to lower his hips back over Duncan's.
Yeah, I totally agree. The reason why we were going with the bridge is just because of the grip that the guy had on the top of his head.
Sure.
Was not giving Duncan the ability to shoulder walk at all.
Yeah, so that guy won on points. I think it was 8-0 if I remember correctly. But all right, well, that was Duncan's first competitive match ever. Or first competition match ever, I should say. So plenty to work from there. And as always, man, we'll dig into some stuff at class. So moving.
What's up, Pinball? Yeah, this was these are the results of the competition we were talking about last time. Yep.
So moving on, we got Joe. This is his first match at competition ever as well. Right there, that's a disappointing moment. Watching this back now, I can't say for sure why. I don't think that guy launches Joe here. Why Joe gets into that role? That may have been. I mean, it's not terrible. Like, he stays in guard, so it wasn't like an egregious mistake or anything, but. From there, I feel like you could have pinned him a bit better. Trying to do some work with that butterfly hook. Trying to elevate. You could see here, though, Joe, I feel like I don't know if you're in the chat yet or not. You're kind of working against yourself here a little bit, Joe, with your grip over the back of the neck here. I can't see what you're doing with your right arm if you're collapsing his arm in to try to work the sweep. And then we've seen you so many times in class hitting these butterfly sweeps where you're pressing off of this bottom foot right here. This one, I mean, again, this is competition. Things are a little more hastily done sometimes. not too much pressure off the ground here with the sweep. And that guy fully has his base. We could see his hands now based out on the floor. So it would have been difficult to finish that sweep. I think after talking with Luke and I today at the open mat, Joe, you'd probably start switching this arm in on an underhook, working your shoulder crunch, double unders, something like that.
Yeah, I think if I remember with this match, I think throughout the match, there's a lot of really like breaking posture and pulling his partner down, even when he's in close guard. There's a lot of that. And there's a time and a place for that, but just something to think about as you pull your partner's posture down, you're pulling their weight on top of you. So that's okay because there's a reaction. So, and you just saw that take place there. So Joe was using a lot of strength, pulling his partner down. And as soon as that he slipped the head, his partner popped back up. We talked a little bit about that today. That's actually an opportunity I take personally to work underhooks. So I'll break the person's posture down using my arms and legs. And then as soon as they pop up, come in for an underhook. Because I know that they're going to, kind of shoot themselves back and overexpose. And then we also talked a little bit about hip bump sweep today, right? That's another great example. As soon as they start to posture back, they've off balance themselves and you can reverse.
Right. So now we get into the close guard battle, right? And we talked a good bit about this today as well. And I think this is going to go well for Duncan and Joe, and we'll see Caleb here in a bit in the future. We're going to start looking at, I'd like to get them up to speed on how to open up arms, how to get the reactions they need so that they're not just trying to pull arms across or muscle arms away from the body. And it all starts with movement, getting your partner moving, using your legs, of course. But yeah, I feel like Joe was getting stymied here by his opponent. We didn't see a lot of opponents trying to work standing guard breaks. I think what we've seen is some of the more effective guard breaking tactics. So we're going to have to deal with seated opponents or kneeling opponents. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Joe was doing a really good job of trying to get the arms across. He's practicing a lot of the technique that we had tried, or that we've been teaching. One thing though, Joe, because I know you're going to rewatch this and everything, but take a look at the combination of your legs pulling versus your arms pulling, right? And so what we always talk about in close guard is it's normally a combination thereof of you not only trying to guide somebody's arm across your body, but also trying to pull them into you using your knees to crunch in to get them off balance, the kazushi, right? So that you can start moving the arms more effectively. And here we're seeing a lot of the pressure down with the heels, and sometimes you even unlock your legs here, and still trying to drive the arm all the way across. Again, as Matt said, competition, it's easier said than done. But as we practice it, you'll get it.
What's up, James? It looks like I think his opponent just kind of timed that well. Looks like Joe opens up. Yeah, so Joe opened his legs to try to work open guard, and his opponent got his hips up to probably work a pass. Man,
great use of the sticky hooks, though, man. He was doing a really good job tracking.
Yeah.
As the guy was trying to jump around the guard.
And this is entrance into cross ashi all day. If Joe, if you had hooked, if your arm had grabbed onto his right leg, again, I don't remember what the rules were for legal techniques in beginner. But yeah, I mean, this is going to be the frustrating part of the review where you start to see all the things you could have done and things that were, maybe centimeters away and you didn't realize it in the flurry.
That sweep was a centimeter away because if literally all he had was an overhook on the top side, he would have had it so easily.
Yeah.
That's the only reason he was able to spin and track, right? He had that post on the far side.
Right.
And it literally just an overhook, he would have been right over.
Yeah.
This was a slick entrance too. I think I was watching it from across the way. You could see me.
So I was on the side facing Joe, watching from there. I didn't see this back angle, so I didn't get to see how torqued his foot got or anything. But yeah, one thing I saw from my vantage point was Let's see. We got. I think they end the match here, right? Like it's just a dogfight from here. I think so.
This is the end of the match, if I remember correctly.
So right there, I talked about that today. See how he pulled the leg out and
Right.
he went full outside?
Yeah.
That actually ended up hurting him. And I'm not saying we can't finish in that position, but it ended up hurting him because his opponent was closing the distance here.
Right. Right. And, you know, his opponent had a grip on Joe's top arm, his left arm here. And that was kind of helping him boot his foot in enough. I mean, his foot is not booted at all here, but it was just enough to relieve the pressure. Right there, I genuinely feel like if this match had gone on like 10 more seconds, he could have been in some real trouble with that. So his opponent ended up taking that on. I think it was 2-1. It was 2-1 on that. So that was a tight match. Joe got a point at the end there for the submission attempt, and his opponent only got the 2-point takedown. Let's go on to Joe's second match.
That was great guard retention, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, you had a lot of good things going for you on that one, Joe.
Yeah. What's up, Brandon? Thanks, man. We appreciate the kind message. So I don't know how far into this match we missed, like the beginning. Homie got a takedown. We only have about a minute of this match to look at. I'm not sure if any of the other students have this one. Let me know. We could go over it again.
What's up, Defcore?
What's up, dude? But yeah,
Just on the wall.
Go ahead.
Like, I just want to throw this out there. Everybody, I couldn't have been more proud of how everybody performed. Whether they like ended up just not having the day they wanted to have, or double golding, because we had like just so many people did a fantastic job. But everybody worked really hard, so I couldn't be more proud. Like even the losses, nobody was like a sore sport about it or wanted to.
Yeah.
They're just like, okay, I'll come back later and be better next time. So it's all about having a good attitude.
Yeah. And Joe, I'll pull this one. So all these videos were the ones that Ronnie captured. So we'll go back and find I could go back and find the full length. This vantage point sucks. What I didn't see, I mean, I was even coaching this one and I didn't see what your opponent had on you, but I guess you worked onto that Nogi Ezekiel, I think it was. Yeah, that's what it was. So again, no real attempts towards guard breaking. The one disappointing thing about this is normally, I mean, you've heard me say it plenty of times on the stream, like I don't really attack from being in someone's guard. This guy, I guess I can't say he attacked from guard. Joe opened his guard, got to butterfly hooks. He started to come up a little bit. He never passed fully to mount, but this is far enough north of a closed guard. Like he's far enough up the body, I think, to start making legitimate attacks. If he had tried this when Joe was still in closed guard, it probably would not have ended well for him. Would have been swept or something like that. But we'll go over that one in full, Joe, soon. Let's move on now to Caleb. So so this is Caleb's weight class match. He only had one guy in his weight class. Battle of the Titans here. The guy went in on a nice single.
And his weight class was open weight, so
Yeah.
yeah.
So again, we find Caleb getting put into close guard early on. So common theme among Duncan and Joe and Caleb is just working on some open guard strategies, sweeping, and yeah. This guy had a rather loose fitting t-shirt on, which
Naga, baby.
it proved to be an annoyance. I think at one point, I don't know if we'll see it from here, but Caleb's arm kind of gets caught in it. The ref doesn't do anything about it, which is really annoying.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, Caleb was saying he couldn't pull his arm back across. It's like
Mhm.
it's not a gi match, but whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should make these guys take their shirts off for sure. I totally
That's
agree,
why
Daniel.
that's why we always have that no shirt guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No shirt guy. I bet you nobody gets caught in his shirt.
Nope. So yeah, from the single, I was across the mats watching this one. I don't recall if the big guy passes Caleb's guard or not. But he does one thing his opponent does is lay on steady, heavy pressure. Just not even because of his size, just very, very forward, heavy pinning pressure the whole time.
So they were really adamant. Their coach wanted him to force the half guard, and which almost works in our favor because Caleb likes to play half guard. So it's not a bad position. Right here, I'm telling Caleb, hey, use that lockdown because he had to flatten it out in half guard. And obviously, that's death, right? You need to get back to a hip. So I was having Caleb use that lockdown half guard to pull him down the body so he could shoot back to a hip.
Yeah.
At least that was his strategy at the time.
And man, this was where I was really excited during this match. I thought he was going to be able to get to his right hip and start working to come up the back, but he winds up losing the underhook here. So he did, Coach, Luke, you were coaching him to get to that underhook, right? Using the lockdown to off balance him. He wound up slipping in that underhook, and then the guy on top did a really good job of recognizing it and then immediately getting back his underhook.
I'd like to see Caleb employing a knee lever here just to get some of that pressure off the head.
Completely.
The guy's running up real high, a lot of heavy shoulder pressure, but his, a few times here his knee was on the ground. I'm just gonna go back a bit, like throughout, like right here, getting the feet to the outside, working the knee lever he's a big dude, so it's not gonna sweep him, but it could be enough to just move him and then get a good frame in, use that frame to get an underhook, and work your game from there.
I think so. Can we go back a few steps right here? Okay, so Caleb comes out and it's a brief moment, but you could see Caleb's prioritizing getting his head up and his chest up rather than his hips back.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that may have been kind of that was one slip up here. You can see the guy lowered his level. He's ready to take him back down.
Yeah, right into a double.
Yep. So I think that's another piece that we need to incorporate into our training as well, is just prioritizing getting our hips out of the way. And I know, Luke, you literally just went over that this week, right? As you heist up, sprawling, and getting heavy pressure. But I didn't notice that during the match. I think we should incorporate that for sure.
Again, just more seated guard breaking attempts. You see he's bringing his elbows inside Caleb's knees, just trying to get heavy on him. Caleb opens his guard.
So obviously Caleb's opponent's pretty big here. This is where Caleb is able to lock his hands for that deep half. He was working deep half earlier and couldn't get it. I'm still convinced he could hit this deep half. The problem is when he stalled out, you could see he eventually had to pull his arm back. If your opponent's bigger than you and you go in, lock your hands for this deep half, try off balancing them a little bit more, right? So his knee shield is up high here. When he realizes he can't move his partner, use your shield to push your partner away. Create that off balance. He's going to push back into you. That's your opportunity to bring him over. The other thing to think about is, while I personally prefer deep half guard and going from, in this case, it'd be Caleb's right hip to his left hip. If you do get stalled out halfway, a little bit of foot pummeling will lead you to like an outside ashi position or an inside ashi position, depending on which side of his leg goes on your head. And oftentimes it's very easy for you to go to that X guard position, elevate, and then, hit that some kind of leg submission. So there's options there, even if your opponent's bigger than you and you feel like you can't off balance them enough, just elevating them above your hips and then working legs.
Yeah, pinball. We see a good moment in the next match, Caleb's next match at Absolute, where it was a good example of his opponent should have stopped moving forward, and Caleb was happy to oblige his forward motion. But yeah, that's I feel like that's such an instinctive move to make. Like you got to go forward, you got to press into your opponent, and I think we've all been countered. We've all been on the receiving end of when that goes wrong. So now his opponent moves to mount, got his 2 points. Which again, Naga's so weird with their point system, with 2 points for everything essentially, but whatever.
It's 4-0, right?
I think so. For the takedown, and then since he passed directly into mount,
then you should get 2, right?
I don't know if he gets passing points and mounting points. I don't recall.
I guess I could look up to see what the final score was.
Shut up, Daniel. We're gonna skip all your matches today. Yeah, so heavy pressure. He was able to control Caleb and just kind of impose his will. Again, just forward pressure though, like no real submission threat, which it always sucks to lose, but that's something I always hang my hat on when I do lose. If it's by points, at least they got nowhere near subbing me. So this is Caleb's match in the Absolute division. His opponent's heavyweight, whereas Caleb is ultra heavyweight. And here's the thing too, Caleb is very tall, right? So, or hell of a lot taller than me. Tall guys, especially in jiu-jitsu, tend to be prone or at least vulnerable rather to these shots. Like a quick level change and a deep shot in is very useful against a big guy. If you're big enough to handle the weight of him over you, and this guy certainly is, he's going to beat Caleb on these level changes if Caleb's coming in upright, right? And if we look at Caleb here, he's not like, this isn't like a wrestler's kind of stance where he's kind of hinged at the knees and the hips, bent over, hands in front. This is a common thing, you see out of a lot of jiu-jitsu guys. It's upright, trying to establish a connection with a little bit of forward movement. This guy makes a quick level change, gets Caleb's hips pretty much over his, and just starts moving. It kind of looks like in slow-mo here, Caleb opts to try to hit this like arm-in guillotine, but he just doesn't have good shoulder position over the head. His shoulders his shoulders more over the crown of the head than over the back of the neck, which is really where you want it. So if you want to counter these singles like that, Caleb, that's something you're going to need to pay attention to.
Yeah, and I think if you run it back just for 1 second on that single. So one of the things Caleb did with his left leg was he pinned it to the outside to try to get towards that guillotine. So yeah, right here, just continue a few more frames. Right there. So instead of that, right? So right now he's an arm in guillotine position. This is a great opportunity to use that single leg as a butterfly hook on the near side leg to reverse over your overhook, which is just an easy, like, kind of reversal when someone shoots in a single, to just use that overhook, twist the body, bring them over, and at a bare minimum, you have a scramble there. And right. But best case scenario, you actually end up at a top mounted position or at a 3/4 mount.
I like the immediate dig on the arm. The guy was smart to get his elbow in tight. But good thinking from Caleb. And I think we're seeing
That was
Caleb
nice.
using his legs too well here too. What were you saying?
I like, I don't know, man. Like in competition footage, I really just like the use of technique and the use of somebody doing something that we teach in class. So like, look at what he does with the inside bicep tie. So
Yeah.
so the opponent gets an inside bicep tie. What does Caleb do? He puts his arm up, he reaches with his right hand, grabs the wrist, and strips the grip.
Yeah.
I mean, like something as simple as that, I would take away as like a job well done, right? Like being able to remember that in the heat of the moment and under pressure. So just wanted to call that out too.
Yeah, for sure. And even moving on from that, like the wrist elbow connection, you see he gives a little bit of a hip bump here to try to like get the elbow over. Like we see him trying to work what's in his head. You know, it's different when you got an opponent at comp speed. And even right
nice.
there, yeah, like really, really great. I mean, that looks dangerous. The only thing that could have made this better, or I'd say a big thing that would have made this better, is getting his left leg up across the shoulder line. That would have given him more posture control and made that arm much more vulnerable. Like if his hips came out, you know, towards us, like his butt facing us, leg up over the shoulder, I think that would have ended this match there. But his opponent is driving forward and making that a difficult thing to do.
Yeah, it's important to know with that straight arm, and I don't want to. I mean, this isn't like Technique Tuesday type thing, but like with that straight arm, one of the more critical pieces is that you want your opponent completely spread out, right? You need to provide them with as much extension as possible. Yeah. So their hips need to be over top of their knees at the very least, right? Like they need to be completely overextended and out. As soon as his opponent is able to pull his hips back to like sit on his haunches, then it's very simple for him to start slipping his elbow back in. And then furthermore, you can see him start going head over head. Once he goes head over head, not only do you lose the ability to score the armbar, but you can't do a shoulder crunch either. You're just getting stacked.
Yeah. Looks like he was thinking about the hip bump there.
He was, and I couldn't tell whether he was just trying to make space or what. But either way, it kind of, yeah, it's cracked down.
Yeah, so this kind of sucks, right? His opponent's got he doesn't have the Darce set up, but he's working that Japanese necktie.
Yeah, I was going to say, it looks like he's looking towards a necktie, maybe.
Yeah, and so, all right, I guess you got a point for the submission attempt there.
Or he may have gotten for the takedown, right? Like
maybe
did he get it since he was on his knees and then got put on his back? Too?
No, I believe you have to get to a standing position per Naga's rules. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't be taken down from your knees in Naga.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I can't see. So
yes.
He's got
pinball. These are blue belts. Yep.
There we go.
But I believe this was in the absolute division for intermediate.
Yeah, absolute intermediate.
Yep. But they happen to both be blue belts.
Way to power up there. And he's in like no trouble. His arm's totally safe, which I'm glad he recognized. Didn't like panic through that. I would have loved to have seen a real nasty knee on belly. That was a great scramble up from his opponent. Luke, you look visibly pissed.
You know what it was? It was the lack of. So Caleb started a knee slice with no underhook.
Yep.
On the top side. Yep, and I was shouting as loud as I can. I lost my voice yesterday, man, shouting so loud, and and I just wanted to see that underhook so he could pin that far shoulder down.
Yeah.
And then his partner was able to wrestle up off that. So
Yeah, and he
But Caleb is immediately about to redeem himself, so I'm just gonna say that. Like,
yeah,
the
yeah.
next, like 10, 15 seconds, he's a good redemption. So
And he could have saved this with a hard whizzer. He's got the inside hook on the leg to kind of like hit a bit of an Uchimata here from knees. But I am glad Caleb stood up with that once he realized he was losing it. But yeah, from here, talking about forward momentum with heavyweights, Caleb's like, fuck out of here. I mean, how many times have we watched Caleb do this, in the training room, on stream, gets his lateral. I'm really glad, man, watching it in slow-mo, that dude bases his hand. That could have been awful for him. I'm glad he didn't get hurt terribly. But that was great. So, solid takedown. Get some points on the board. One thing for Caleb coming out of this, I mean, we've said it with him through, basically since he started with us. I know Bertram has had a lot to say about it. This was, oh my God, this was when I was yelling, break it, like a terrible human being. I'll finish my original thought in a second. Let's look at this knee bar. Beautiful entry. I love that sit back. I hit that in a blue belt match. It felt great. Like, look at his face. Everything about this screams that he should be finishing it. I think what he could have done to really send this is, instead of hipping in and pinning it to his chest, start taking it over the hip. His knee is pointing in toward, his opponent's knee is pointing in towards his hips, so you're not going to get too much of an angle out of this, but like, I mean, we'll see it in my match, like the way you can kind of break it over the hip instead to get a bit more leverage on it, for when just posturing up isn't enough. I genuinely don't know. I guess he just didn't hyperextend it enough and his opponent wasn't too concerned. I really, really like his attempt to transition to the toe hold here. Just stringing some attacks together. I was beside myself watching this ending. It's like
so,
Caleb knows he
during the knee bar,
has it.
It's all about that foot position. So, like, Caleb has this awesome entrance, but notice where the heel is right now.
Yeah.
And the direction it's facing, and just knowing that you have to set up your break opposite of that heel. He's so close here.
Yeah.
Right. Just to be able to rotate that heel a little bit more and finish that hip pop, or to your point, break over the hip. This was closer. I mean, I don't know how his opponent felt about it, but this one was very close.
Yeah. Yeah, that was so frustrating to watch and see him not get the tap. Just to come up from that, come up from the throw. He was getting held the whole match. Gets the throw, enters into the legs beautifully. And credit to his opponent for staying really composed through all this.
He did a really good job of trying to hide his heel. Like, you can tell that his opponent had at least dabbled in some leg locks here from the defensive aspect.
Yeah. And then, so here, his opponent, feeling good about his defense, opts to switch to offense. Caleb sets on this same side straight ankle. When he takes that leg out, he loses, he gives up his ability to defend the heel hook there, and his opponent sinks in a 50-50 inside heel hook.
Which is really slick. Like, I mean, it was a good finish by his opponent. But yeah, like, for this, I mean, we've all been here, right? But like, when you're fighting for the leg locks, you have to know when to bail.
Yeah,
and in positioning's getting beat.
Yeah, I don't know just how much Caleb has been caught in 50-50 battles. So that's, that is a whole, that position in and of itself is like something you really want to kind of spend some time with before jumping
it's deep
into
water,
it.
Man. Like, I mean, for real, like 50-50 is, I think, one of the more dangerous positions in leg locking, because you really, there's not much in terms of like who's got the edge, right? It's literally, hence the name 50-50.
Yeah. So good stuff from Caleb. I forgot the point I was making earlier, but I think Duncan, Joe, and Caleb have like a lot of strong areas that we can build on to get them get them to get to the spots where their strengths are, and then in the meantime, you know, if they're losing that stand-up battle, get them solid on their close guard and so on. Just having good tactics to sweep, to submit from there is going to be a good thing for them to work on. Moving on, Steven, I named we're going to view these in the order with which they were named on the memory card or whatever. So I assume these are your matches, first, second, and third.
No, this was not his first, but it's okay. So
okay.
This was the one, yeah, it's not the end of the world. This guy, I actually saw this guy, his opponent had a match before Steven, and like out-wrestled his opponent terribly. So prior to the match, I was like, hey, this guy likes to wrestle. Not that that's going to change Steven's game plan for this guy at all.
Right.
But just, you know, mindset-wise, I'm like, yeah, we know what he's going to do. He's going to shoot in, and he's going to try to, you know, wrestle from here. So.
Yeah. So how do we take that away from our opponent? We establish a connection. We sit to guard. Now he can't wrestle. Traditionally. Steven inverts, attacks the bandaged up ankle of his opponent. Gets a 12-second tap. Let's look at this again. You know what? Just because it's so short, let's slow this whole thing down. So his opponent tries to put him on his back, and Steven gets the grip on the leg without even having an initial like inside leg, right? Damn right, James. Like Steven doesn't have a leg inside. Here he gets the knee penetrated in for like a standard ashi. Keeps going through. His opponent moves forward, leaving his leg behind. Stupid video player.
That's something not to sleep on, right? Is like, so yes, he didn't have inside position traditionally where we say feet in between, but Steven was very diligent about the placement of his knee. So this is very reminiscent of what we teach when somebody is doing a standing guard break on you and you're inverting into the leg. It's the same thing. You penetrate with the knee, and then you take a big sweeping hook step with the other leg to come around to the butt and start breaking them down.
Yeah,
that's exactly what he did here.
Yeah, right here we can see him swinging that leg, trying to swing the leg in, closing the distance, bringing his head right to the ankle. His opponent had no chance of getting his base back at that point. This is the dude's foot that was popping like crazy when I applied pressure. Yeah, I mean, seems like things were a little loose in there already, judging by the bandage. But yeah, right here, I mean, this guy definitely wanted to tap early on that. He didn't want to play around. He tapped right there.
If you look at the ref's face during the entire interaction, it says everything. Look at his face. He's like, oh no.
Like,
look at him.
He's like, oh shit.
Yeah, it's going down.
Stop.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think somebody's leg or knee shattered on mat 10, not long either before or after this. Like, it was audible, an audible pop. So.
Yeah, and this I'm glad this kid tapped when he did. Obviously, we don't want to like hurt our opponents, despite me shouting out things like "break it" and Luke doing the same thing. But you could see this kid's ready to tap before Steven even has any sort of real finishing grip on here. You know, there's no knee pressure at this point. This kid's just not having any of it. So,
and I mean, I think maybe to your point, right, is like that's very respectable, right? Like, you're going in and out, right? You're not wanting to take any sort of breaks or chances, especially if you're taped up on your ankle already.
Yeah.
Like, what is it for some more damage, right? It's not worth it.
Not for the medals they give out.
Yeah, right.
So again, I don't know if this was first, second, third.
Towards the end of Steven's matches.
Okay.
I think this is the second one.
I think this was one of his adult ones. I feel like this was for gold, or for I think this was actually a finals match for him.
Oh wow, okay.
So this kid is making a big mistake here, just trying to move forward and pass without controlling the legs really at all. Steven gets in deep on this this Kimura, switching to an armbar here. This was such a cool scramble to watch. Oh, but so this and the previous match were gold medal. What were you saying?
This is where Steven gets awarded a point, right, for a strong submission attempt, which he went from Kimura to armbar, like he totally deserved it.
Yeah.
And his other the other coach was like, "What did Rick get a point for?" He was so confused, like he had never read the rules ever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, strong submission attempt, like I will teach you right now.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a 120-page PDF. Go read it. We all did.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, the level of smack talk at this match was not that it was like egregious, but there was some good jabber at this competition from some of the other opponents.
That is fantastic.
That was killer. Let's look at it in slow-mo. So kid tries to step in. This is great. So Steven does not have the knee at all, but he manages to capture the foot, keep the knee bent, recaptures the knee.
Look at that hip engagement too. Like, yeah. I know you guys hate me when we go in and we do these drills to do hip hop ups and shit, right? To shoot into Ashi. But like, this is the reason why it's so important, is because like that hip engagement is what makes this heel hook.
Absolutely. And he, with that hip engagement, that's how he manages to keep the knee through this whole turn. That kid never got his knee back once Steven had it.
Nah.
And right here, like, there's such a bend in that, and once Steven initiates this roll, homeboy can't turn fast enough. His leg is extended, so he can't pull it back. Steven's not going to rotate over that leg to, for him to free it. So he's got nowhere to go, no other choice but to tap or snap. And he, oh man, the disappointment on our opponents' faces always makes me so happy.
I was telling Steven that he came up to me after, thanked me for the match and everything. But he seemed like he didn't want, well, one, he didn't want any of that smoke. And then two, like the whole heel hook thing, he was like, I wasn't gonna, he was like, I wasn't gonna get out of that, and I didn't know what I was doing. Like, he pretty much flat out said it. So he was in probably more danger than he even realized. So he made the right decision.
Yeah, that was smart.
That was smart. So this guy's doing a really good job of keeping his legs safe. And the way that he does this is by that strong, that underhook / crossface that he's got on the head. So he's doing a really good job of framing and keeping Steven's left shoulder away from the thigh. And that forces it, and Steven recognizes this and knows that he has to switch up his strategy.
Yeah,
very solid top pressure here, trying to get to the pass.
He even, like, Steven immediately addressed that, like, as he started to realize he's not getting in deeper on that leg.
Yep.
He immediately tries to underhook this, tries to disrupt that exact arm that's cross-facing, because the dude isn't, that crossface is leaving him open to a possible underhook, right? Which from here leads to all sorts of stuff. So good thinking from Steven just to go from that lower body entrance, switching back to the upper body, but not just backing out and framing, immediately countering with something that could be much more offensive. He's got Steven in a bad spot right here. Elbow up above the shoulder line. And this dude looks pretty stout too. Like he's going to lay on some heavy pressure for sure. I'm sure Steven was feeling that.
So where his opponent messes up which is kind of a very, in my opinion, this is where he messes up. I'd like to hear your and it's with his left hand. So see how his left hand is very much prioritizing the hip of Steven, but Steven has a bicep tie on the left arm. That's a strong grip for Steven here. And the fact that the guy isn't addressing that, he should be pummeling in for an inside bicep tie of his own in order to try and get Steven's right elbow away from his body, which you could see like he's trying to do initially here, but he can't figure out how to do it.
Yeah.
So instead he goes back to try and block the hip. And that's where Steven takes advantage of that trap, like that trap grip, that really high underhook he has, and then just a straight push off of the bicep to get some space.
Yeah, his opponent should be prioritizing getting an underhook, like from this position, and since he's lost it on his own right side, he's got to look to the far side and try to work from there. That or I mean, so I was gonna say disengage, but even that, if he starts to disengage, Steven's in on the straight arm or on the shoulder crunch. So I would say drop forehead to the mat, lay heavy shoulder pressure onto Steven. It's going to be difficult for Steven to get out to his opponent's right side and make good use of that underhook. His opponent could take that time to work on his own underhook on the left side and establish better control, as well as start working, get his knee free, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm. So that was a great regard from Steven. And then, this guy just like dropped some pressure down.
Yeah, I was concerned here.
Yeah.
I was really focused on getting Steven to actually cup the low ankle here. Not necessarily to like enter into legs, but I wanted him to be able to use that to off balance his partner and then get his shield back in, or it just
waiter sweep style.
Right, exactly. And his partner started to slide his knee out, and then Steven was able to reclaim it, which was awesome. I was happy about seeing that.
Let's see how he does that, because I can't remember. So he is fighting for that underhook, and again, the guy is completely ignoring the underhook on the far side.
He might have already slipped the knee, and Steven might have already reclaimed it, but.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's putting on serious pressure. This is really, really good on his part. I don't know about you guys. There's just always something about seeing a guy working in Americana north of like the white belts where I'm like, all right, that kind of just tells me his submission game probably isn't that well developed.
I was giving him the benefit of the doubt and thinking that he was trying to make Steven move, right? Like get Steven to make a mistake.
True.
So Steven got points for that, for a strong submission attempt with that Kimura back take, which was awesome.
Yeah,
really, right here. Great. So his partner's hand was on the far side hip.
Yep.
And he tries to lift out of this and sprawl back. And when he does that, he opens up the back take. So he goes to lift out. He's trying to muscle out of this Kimura. That back step is what opens up the back take.
Yep.
And Steven has a shot here. He just gets his opponent gets his shoulder a little bit higher than maybe he wanted it, and then lowers his level back down, and has to re-engage.
But even when that fails, he got all that top pressure off and is just back to a guard. So it's great. Even if it doesn't work out, it gets you to a safer spot.
Again, good use of trying to strip those inside bicep ties by Steven. Arms up, trying to go and it's so effective that we're actually seeing it so effective that people are willingly giving them up because they don't like having their hands being manipulated like that.
So at this point, I think we're tied in the match.
going
Somewhere in here, his opponent got a strong submission attempt that was not a strong submission attempt. It was, and I couldn't see on the far side.
Was it maybe the Americana?
Yeah,
It must have been.
And I never even saw it happen. It must have been on the other side, but it was nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
Dude,
God, that was such a great moment. Would you just?
So I actually thought. So at this time, I'm telling Steven, hey, go in, out, up.
Right.
Like, go now, in, out, and up. And in my mind, I'm like, hey, just get one more point. There's
Yeah.
like 10 seconds left. Even if you don't finish, just get your submission attempt, right?
Yeah. Steven's like, no.
Well, yeah. And at first, I thought maybe Steven had popped his hips up to set this up a little bit. I guess his opponent, in trying to get rid of the Kimura, popped his own hips up, which was a terrible mistake because that reveals the wrist, right? As soon as his partner starts to elevate his level,
Right there.
yeah, right there. Yep,
he knows
Yeah.
he's in trouble.
he made a mistake right there. That was-
Yeah, he showed his hand. Yeah, for sure.
Mhm. And then he's able to reveal the wrist, and then Steven just lays on the deepest Kimura that trends into, yeah, I mean, that guy's shoulders.
And I love that Steven had the awareness here to stop him from rolling. He controls his opponent's legs. It's hard to see because everything gets all blurry here, but he like right here you can see he's controlling his opponent's leg with his own legs to keep him from rolling with it. Like even with this straight arm, like I think that guy's arm is turned completely over, so it was just about to get really bad.
Didn't that turn into an arm lock, Steven? Where we were talking about that, right? You said it turned in from a Kimura into a straight arm?
And shout out for the dope gear. If you guys like what we're wearing, that drip, go to alva.com and look for our school. alva.com. We get no money for that.
It was
Or
all tight.
I get no money for pumping it. All right, cool. So we're going to go on to my match now. My only match of the day for dumb reasons. Right there, I was like, oh, we already shook hands. Let's go.
Yeah, you did.
And I go to, and I'm like, oh, it's a fist. Let me just bump him, disengage. All right, let's start. And then
We've already done this.
yeah. And then I immediately kick him in the leg, trying to get a foot sweep. Way too high on it though, up the calf. Watching this back, like, I was genuinely surprised how fast the both of us were moving. It made it very difficult for me to establish good grips. I mean, there I was trying to hit a good arm drag, and you could tell just by his posture, this guy was keeping his feet way far away. I really should have snapped him down here. But, you know, hindsight. He was coming at me with some heavy collar ties, too. Like, right there, he about clubbed me right in the face with his bicep. But he wasn't doing much to clear wrists. And, of course, I mean, you guys by now all know how much I love the Russian wrist snap or Russian tie snap, whatever you want to call it. So I had to throw one of those in there for good measure.
I thought you
an
were gonna have
attempt.
that trip, man. That
Me
trip
too.
was- yeah.
Yeah, and I'll be honest, I really don't like using those too much. I just feel very much like when I commit to this, if the guy turns towards me, I feel like we're on a level ground. Like
Yep.
my leg is tangled up with his. It typically ends up on bottom. Nobody falls straight back with this, so I don't really like using these for takedowns, but you know, my intention for this match, and you guys both know it, was spend the first minute trying to win the stand-up battle, throw at him what I'm good at, and then if it didn't work, sit to guard, work from there. Don't get burnt out in the first minute. So I start pulling a few things out, but I didn't get any real. That was a quick level change to see how he'd react. Wrist snap attempt. I didn't get
I
any.
was really hoping for that too.
I
Yeah.
and like how fast I did it too. Like if he cared and sprawled, it would have worked. But he didn't
Yeah.
care.
Speaking of speed, Veronica actually taped this in slow motion. Like we're just seeing like the actual slow-mo video. That's how fast things were. Guys
Yeah.
were like turning it up out there.
Yeah, it was fun to watch. So then here, this was Luke and I were talking about this today. One thing I definitely want to work on here is, I saw a minute. Mike, you yelled out it's a minute. I established my connection and I sit to guard. What I didn't do well and what I really, really need to focus on is not just sitting and then working. It's sitting and going for a knee as soon as I'm in. Like, I only need one connection to him. I don't need to be grabbing both hands. If I let go with my left arm and instead focused on grabbing his right knee, I could immediately start working in on Anashi. But I didn't do that. I sit and he starts to barrel into me. I keep my butterfly hooks in, so I wasn't too concerned. He wasn't really doing much here to like get my knees separated from my elbow. He didn't get a point for this, which I'm glad, because there was absolutely no threat. Like, he was just holding my head. But establishing my underhook. Here I get to close guard just to kind of like get recomposed. I think we were coming up on a minute and a half or so.
Look at that transition.
Yeah. And like that was, I hate this. My hips aren't high. I don't have my ankles crossed. Like I'm not establishing a good enough connection to even like attempt a triangle here. And he immediately takes advantage of that. I don't really care because I keep it going, and I know I have some leg entrances I could work from there.
Yeah, it wasn't fantastic, but it was such a good regard. Like you threw up a submission that maybe you didn't quite have, and he could have very easily, like if you got lazy, he could have very easily passed your guard. Your knees were pointing in the same direction. He was poised to pass, and you re-rolled it and just like totally shut it down.
Yeah.
Like right there, that's a dangerous spot for you to be in.
Mm-hmm.
And you were able to just very astutely, you rolled your right knee under, you get your butterfly hook back engaged, and you're right back to guard.
Yeah, my left knee and elbow are connected, so he's not anywhere close to passing my guard. And then now I start to see that I can get in on his right leg. What I couldn't do was get my left leg, what is my top leg here, I couldn't get my foot inside to get to a cross ashi, which I really, really wanted. But as we're scrambling here, see, I get my leg in, but it's not enough. He gets close to me, I switch legs. So I start pushing away, and I start attacking that leg, trying to go for the ankle, or to grab at the heel, but I only get the ankle. Go for my knee bar, and he did a killer job here. He slipped the knee. Not here. I thought I had it. I go to switch to a lat knee bar, but he just had such a good foot on my hip that he extracted. And then this was where we're watching it in slow-mo now because this was quite a flurry. But from here, he didn't get up in time, and I immediately took top position. And this is pretty much where I knew I was going to win the match. I think he started to get kind of tired a little bit, like not tired, like exhausted, but he was definitely like, he took a pause, took a breath, and he was holding very tightly here to my right arm, which is why it takes me a while to get to the position I want to get to, which we'll get to in a second. But he's leaving a lot of room for me to sneak my left knee across the stomach. I think all of you have, dealt with me trying to do this to you guys. As soon as I have an opportunity, slip my knee across and turn the corner. Now I'm back into cross ashi. Slow it back down again.
And the quick hand switch too. That shouldn't be overlooked.
It's right there.
Yep.
Yeah. And then
Shoulders covering up the heel.
Yeah, I fall immediately to the leg. I was a little off balance there, admittedly, but I take him back and just focus on capturing the leg fully. I don't like immediately try to throw in a heel hook grip, just because I knew I didn't have the angle quite yet. But I grabbed the toe line, which, I mean, you guys know how big we've been on that lately when it comes to controlling from cross ashi. So right now he can't turn towards his right and work a running man escape because I have that toe line. I grab to the heel, and this was where I realized, like, after I had the toe line, I'm like, all right, I'm going to have to, like, my left arm is buried. I'm not going to be able to get a heel hook. Let me switch, work a knee bar. So I pull the leg across, and this is what I was talking about with Caleb, breaking the knee over the hip rather than forcing the hip in, pinning the foot to the chest, all that stuff. So I was super proud of this break. I was very happy to hit this kind of grip where I'm pulling and pushing that leg over my hip, just like we like to break arms when we hit arm bars. And just because, we'll just watch that transition without any pausing. So quick turnaround into cross ashi, capture the leg, capture the toes, switch to the knee bar, get the tap. So that was really fun. I was super stoked to get another knee bar in competition. I think that's like my third one. Although I would have really liked to get the heel hook, but what are you gonna do?
Were you wearing a cup?
Of course I was wearing a cup.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, whatever.
I don't know why that knee bar was so tight. As someone who's been on the other side of that knee bar,
yep,
and like had bruising from it, yeah, I know why. It's fine.
Yep, it's because I'm the greatest in 150 Masters executive or executive whatever expert. Mike, this was your first match, right?
Yep.
Okay, cool.
Mike playing that game 2-on-1 for his guard pull, and Mike does a really good job of, like, he uses that 2-on-1 grip to get his hips under his partner's hips right away and immediately enter into legs, which is obviously right there. Yeah, he's either going to pull in a butterfly and try to get underneath on the hip, or just really close the distance, and his partner can't get his arm back, and that's immediately they start playing legs.
Got that hoagie grip. That New Jersey blood.
He's got the hoagie grip, the Jersey Mike grip.
Yeah.
That's right. Can't let go of the sub.
So right here, his opponent was fortunate to get the foot inside of Mike's right leg, because that was Mike's entrance into ashi. But I love, like, immediately trying to repummel.
Yes, I was.
Send it.
Yeah, that was an interesting turn of events. Like, I really wasn't expecting to get this entrance in the Kimura. But yeah, obviously you can see that I've got a 2-on-1 grip on the leg. Like, I'm trying to get his leg out, and I'm using my left leg to start creating some distance here, right? So I'm using my left leg to push in between his legs and try and get his heel out. Once I start pummeling and he gets that leg out, I'm like, fuck, he's about to stand up. And so, like, I had to immediately start pushing and getting him off balance so that he couldn't base out.
Hey, a technical lift. Look at that.
Solid frame right there.
Yeah. And so I was like, okay, I'm getting up. And if he wants to play legs with me, I was like, okay, no problem. I'll play legs with him if he wants to enter into legs. So we go into this split squat, and I'm not able, I wasn't able to get both, like, double inside position. But what I do have is I have my head on the same side as his arm, right? So I've got his left arm and his head separated. And so I'm like, you know what? Like, it's right here. I made a wrist grab and then just dove straight over for the Kimura here.
I love it.
Yeah, and he realizes it because you can see a second ago he had that butterfly hook, right? He was like, I'm going to get this sweep. And as soon as you locked in the Kimura, he was like, I don't want the sweep anymore. I'm going to roll back to my back.
Oops-a-daisy.
Which is the right decision. Yeah, and as soon as you kind of switch your hips from left to right, I mean, that's donezo right there. Like, Yeah.
felt tight.
See, their butterfly hook, and he's like, nope, 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 gotta go back, and you get on the other side of his body, you drop your right hip, and it's tight right away.
Yeah, that was great. And if anybody ever wonders why we practice technical stand-ups, it's not just always about striking and self-defense. This is a good example of when it's very, very useful. And yeah, pinball, totally. I mean, this was like watching this live. I had no idea. Like, I was coaching you. I had no idea that you were going to pull this out. And it was just so well executed, right on target.
Yeah, he's a pretty credited opponent. So like, he was a first, like he was a 1-stripe black belt. So like, I knew I wasn't gonna, like, if I was gonna be able to win this match, I wasn't gonna be able to sleep on much of anything. So
I got to watch that one across the mat, and I couldn't have been more happy.
Yeah.
I was like, I think I was getting ready to coach Daniel, and I was watching your match, and I was like screaming. I was so excited.
Yeah, Steven says, I didn't know Mike was the rolling Kimura type. Yeah, he'll pull it out. So again, I guess we don't have the first like few seconds of this match, but this was your.
I did the exact same thing that I did with the previous guy. I did a 2-on-1, the exact same arm and everything, and pulled down, and he rushed me into a knee cut basically, and so he was gonna beat. Like, I felt like I had a better chance of going to turtle than I did of trying to beat. I watched this guy beforehand, and he was a pretty good wrestler, so I didn't want to screw around with any sort of like outside speed passing with this guy. I would have rather tried fighting from turtle, so I opted to go into a turtle to not give him a pass. I believe somebody was shouting to me to do a sit out, and so he was actually like, he was pretty damn strong. Like when he had a hold of my arms, I was like, I don't know. I figured I'd give it a good effort. But
You're like, nah.
nope.
Yeah, this dude is rolling like a wrestler right now.
Yeah.
He definitely has a background in it.
Yeah, as soon as he went around to my back, I was like, hell yeah, like I've got a leg entrance here.
Yep.
So I start rolling. I'm able to get him off onto the other side. I shoot in for Ashi, and yeah, I was about to start popping him down, but we got reset. And I'm glad you guys were very adamant about me restarting in Ashi.
Oh, Luke, before you even said it to me, I was like, they better let him start here. Like, this is gonna be bullshit.
I was like, don't let them start him. He's got like high hips in a Ribiashi because he was there.
Yeah. And I love this, man. This is such a great, like just staying on that ankle the whole time, rolling through on that. Just digging for this leg.
I was, and then I was hoping that he was going to shoot up, but I took that to my advantage too, right? Like, I knew that he came up and he didn't have any sort of, even if he did have a connection with my leg, I felt like I was going to be able to defend my leg, so I used it in order to get 2 points.
Right. Yeah. As soon as he goes to defend his leg, which, you know, I'm not digging on the guy right now. He doesn't seem to have especially, crisp leg lock defense. So he gets to his butt after being on top position. And I think I was screaming at you too. Get up, get your points. Yep. And you were like, boom, up 2 against a guy who was just trying to wrestle the shit out of you. And now you get to start imposing your will.
I felt like that was a good move by him. I felt like if I took his back, it was going to be the end of the match. Mm-hmm. He did a really good job. I did a poor job of being able to control his hips to keep him from rolling to his back.
I mean, but to this guy is a strong opponent. He was doing a lot here to keep your hips. Like, you didn't get a good. You didn't have like a modified mount. You still had a hook in, but you couldn't control his head and shoulders as good as you could with like when you get like a gift wrap kind of grip. And that's what you want to get long before you slide the knee up the back and start doing your chair sit and all that stuff. He denied that of you, and then trying to work his game coming out on that single. So he made it very, very difficult for you to get what you were trying to get. I don't think he had any answer for this.
Nope.
I don't think he had any answer for a reverse or a rear triangle.
Yeah,
I
I
was
saw
literally
his
cheering.
entry. Go ahead.
Oh no, I was literally cheering. Like, so
Yeah.
I was like, "Do you lock his legs?" Because I couldn't quite see.
Yeah.
I'm like, he locked his legs. I'm so excited.
Yeah, so
I thought
he
you had it.
wound up being able to either pummel in. I couldn't tell whether he had already had it in there or not, but he had his arm like chicken winged out
Yeah.
inside, and I was feeling it, and I was like, shit, how am I going to transition from this and actually use it to my advantage? Because I was trying to, like, so Matt was telling me, you know, like, take him to one side or the other. I think he was saying, like, take him to the right, no, take him to, take him to the left. And I was like trying to get an angle, and I wasn't able to, and it was because I didn't really have.
It was before I saw that his arm was like right here. You know, I thought you had his arm. I thought you had a triangle, and then once you came up, it was like, oh, all right, that's, that guy's buried his arm. He's not gonna.
Shit, I did too. I thought I had the triangle. I was like, this is done. Like,
yeah.
So here against the wrestler, I'm very much aware of a knee cut. Like, the knee cut passes are what is gonna wear and tear on a guard. I feel like, and he's doing a really good job here of trying to get in front of my hip, and he's doing a good job of keeping his left hand like kind of at bay from a crossface. But what he's doing is he's giving me back exposure. And I thought I was going to get that entrance too.
Yeah, and I think I was hollering at you at this point that his arms were across the body, like get on the back, get on the back. Right here, I wish, like, again, this is just because we have slow-mo to look at everything. Like, your leg is behind his leg. He's almost sitting down. Like, if you could have pulled him over your leg, it would have been a super sick takedown. But, again, he's a wrestler. He's got a good base. You know, he's well aware of what is going on. Hits that nice shrug to get behind you and get a takedown. Actually, I don't think that counts as a takedown. I mean, was that 2 points for the takedown?
He got it. Yeah, he got 2 points for the takedown.
Yeah, I guess you guys were. I mean, you guys weren't up. Well, yeah, I guess you could call that a takedown. They say, like, you have to be to a standing position with balance and stuff for 2 seconds in order to be able to score a takedown.
Well, he got that. No, you're right.
You got it. Did he get it for that, or did he get it for side control?
Or the pass. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So here we were at like 2 minutes and 15 seconds into the match, and I was like, shit, I don't have much time left. I'm not going to be able to win. And then I look over and I see it's 2:15. I was like, I can get out. I think I can do this.
Yeah. And you're like, you know what? I'm gonna just get out.
I'm just gonna get in top position real quick. Hold on.
Little knee staple, and this is the turning point for him. Guy got tired here. I think he just looked at the clock too, and felt like, oh, I got a ways to go. So two very different mentalities.
Yeah. I got reinvigorated by the clock, and he was like, "Oh no, I just got put on bottom."
Yeah, and we noticeably saw like a change in his pressure and his energy and everything.
Yep.
So at this point, I believe you are. Let's see, when you get this, I can't remember what the score was right now. I forgot.
I want to say we finished 6-2 or 6-4, something like that, or 8. I don't know.
Yeah. But I believe you were up on points. Guard pull, hips up.
Yep. And then I got another 2 points for this.
And yeah, this is 10 seconds left. 10 or 15 seconds left, and you both know it. So yeah, won that one on points. Hard fought match against a very game opponent.
That was a fun match. Like the guy was he was tough. It was good.
Really good
Fun
purple
match.
belt.
Yes.
All right, so on to the man of the hour. We've got Daniel's absolute matches. Now, Daniel, I only pulled videos again from the one phone that we had Ronnie using. These may or may not be in order. And I can't recall if you had matches in your weight division or if you only did absolute. So I'll have to go to the link you sent me to see if there are any other videos we don't have. But we have 5 of your videos from your absolute matches. So that's what we're going to go
So
over.
one of Daniel's matches, they combined weight divisions. And that was his first match of the day. And then this is, I think, his first open weight match. It's
Right.
either first or second.
Okay.
We were waiting for a long time, but Daniel had quite the day.
Yes, he did.
Being Daniel was Daniel, and he did a fantastic job. He stuck to his game plan and went completely like nobody scored any points on him. He just worked his game, right? I mean,
This is dominant, man.
yeah.
Little
That
knee
was-
tap.
God. He just like
Yeah.
as soon as he got it, it just was drive. You
Yeah.
know, like
And yet,
that was beautiful.
his opponent really messes up here going over the back. Daniel already has this deep underhook on him, so any ability to crossface to prevent Daniel's level change, anything, is now gone. Daniel knows it and just immediately drives through, elevates with that underhook, just hits a little knee tap or a knee block, and gets a beautiful takedown. And then from here, man, I mean, like, I'm sure Daniel got the commendations from everybody on the team about it, but like his guard passing is just so deliberate and methodical, and it works every time. It's just well polished and works every single time.
Yeah, Brandon.
Yeah, we all have.
know, right? We all feel it.
So look at that, just controlling the legs. The way this guy is framing on the hips, framing on the legs isn't enough. Like, it's not a good way, or it's not going to be enough to stop Daniel from moving around.
Honestly, I said this before. Like, Daniel had awesome side control pressure here, locks up the Kimura grip on the far side. His opponent does not do enough to defend this Kimura.
No.
And I guess it's easy to say, like, sitting from a chair, right? But you got to turn towards that Kimura in this situation. Your partner has a double wrist grip, and if you don't bury that arm, he's gonna elevate you. Like, he's gonna be able to rock that shoulder up and finish it.
This is not doing anything,
No.
right? Once Daniel has that Kimura locked up, that hand has a new job.
Yes.
And then, yeah, good adjustment to recapture the elbow. Gets the back exposed. Gets a beautiful Kimura finish.
He was a big boy too. His opponent was like,
Oh, yeah.
pretty. Like, he popped his hoodie off and he was like all vascular, ready to go. And then,
Yeah, he
it
was-
didn't work out so great.
I don't blame this guy for trying to pull and enter the legs. But didn't have an answer for Daniel's forward pressure here. Again, just focusing on splitting the knee from the elbow. Starts to lay on that heavy pressure. Digging in for that dorsal Kimura. Deathcore, you have no idea, man. I mean, like, it translates well on video, of course, but like, Daniel moves like a light wrestler. Like, he's
Astoundingly well.
yeah.
Yep. And then he gets him in that.
Oh,
Let's look at that again.
Yeah.
So guy frames his hips, Daniel's absolutely ready for it. Yeah, right into Kesa. And gets that arm so well isolated. And then here he makes the adjustment. Right there, that sit through.
Is that he actually has a double, it's basically an S grip, but I think he had a double tricep grip when he was making this transition. You see how he's using the fully locked hands to be underneath the tricep, whereas like a lot of times you're taught to shoot the left, in this case, the left hand through and like grab your own thigh in Kesa Gatame.
Yeah, it's about the way Daniel's finishing this technique, right? So you don't necessarily need to come in and connect with your own thigh because you want to put pressure on the head and pull it in.
Right.
And I mean, being on the receiving end of this is terrible. This, like cow catcher position or, whatever you want to call it. And as soon as he starts to arch up and away, the combination of just not being able to breathe and having like your jaw drop back in, I mean, it's brutal.
The bottom legs kicking through, sitting through here was the beginning of the end.
So much pressure,
yeah.
He made the right decision there.
Yeah.
If he likes his neck, he made the right decision, right?
Yeah.
All right, third match on the list.
It's like, I remember this too.
Immediately sits again.
Immediately uses the fist bump to pull.
Oh, did he? Did he like?
Yeah.
Yoink.
I don't blame him. I'm going to do that from now on with Daniel.
Yeah.
Perfect example for people who never trained that don't realize how hard it really is to get someone off of you. Yeah, man. Absolutely agree. Also a good example of people who train all the time and it's still being extremely hard to get Daniel off of you. Any which way, and like I'm not saying this because of the size difference or anything, but like any which way I post on Daniel to try to stop his movement and work my own, he switches his hips really well. He stays mobile. He can make big moves when he needs to. Like it's the wrestling background that he has that is a real thorn for other BJJ guys, you know.
Yeah, and
some great camel work here.
I think 2 opponents ago, this one does a lot of really good like hip switching. Like they switch back and forth quite a bit to prevent dorsal Kimura positions. Mm-hmm. But it's just not quite enough, right? When he's going back and forth, and then there he goes to isolate that far side arm, start to work towards a position.
And this guy is no slouch. I mean, he's trying to dig for underhooks. He's trying to dig for deep half here. I think Daniel's had enough time with us now since he came to the school to know, to not that we taught him how to handle deep half necessarily, but he knows that we all work it when we can. I was stoked watching him hit this kind of like, again, I think this is like a Turk or a leg lace, whatever you want to call it, but just controlling that leg to keep his opponent from being able to turn towards him. Really, really good wrestling instinct there.
Yes.
Yeah, he splayed the legs so wide, like when he was playing that half guard position.
Yeah.
And which is just another reason to play butterfly half to prevent that from taking place.
And I thought he was moving that Kimura too. The guy rolled.
And this is I said it to Mike, this is like the classic Kimura's Kimura, like the actual Kimura worked Kimuras like that, where he just kind of reached underneath, got the arm behind the back, using that 2-on-1 grip. He sets in for the north-south here. Guy has no inside position.
Yeah, that was a really nice example of setting up from knee on belly to try and get your opponent like guessing. You know what I mean? Like the guy had no idea how to clear that leg. And so he was kind of like, I know I can relieve pressure, but it's not the way that I want to go. And Daniel's like, screw it, I'm going to take the neck anyway, right? Mm-hmm. So like he already has the grip set up, ready to slip into the north-south and does it. It's good.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people expect the mount transition from here too. And Daniel said, "Sucker, I'm going the other way."
Um,
Luke about gets kicked in the face.
I did. I was like, oh no, I need to pay better. I was like watching Daniel, and then his opponent almost kicked me in the face.
So get up in the mount.
Gets his points. Yeah.
And
At that point, I thought he got smothered, but no, that's not what happened. So
yeah,
I guess
what was the finish?
his right arm was elevated.
Oh, that's right.
So yeah, Daniel was coming in. I don't know if it was like an elbow to elbow grip or what it was, but the way he dropped shoulder pressure on that far side arm started to put that guy out. Yeah, he needed a second. He couldn't just get back up.
Okay, that was that Daniel's third match? Yes, that was.
Yeah.
Fourth match. So
we game plan going to this one.
Yeah, we've seen this kid at a lot of competitions before.
Yeah, I was like, he's got one technique. Keep your hips back, pin the hips before you proceed. Like, he's going to go for an outside Ashi entrance. He's, keep the legs together. And, Daniel does just that. But you can see he does an okay job of trying to retain his guard. Like, he gets that outside butterfly hook back in. But once Daniel gets on top and drops the pressure, he totally folds.
Yeah.
Which is also what we discussed.
Yeah, now he's nowhere near a leg entrance. Can't play his normal game.
Ain't street beefs.
Ain't street beefs. There were some good hairstyles there that day, Joe. I saw blue mohawks. I think a purple mullet was spotted. White girl with dreadlocks. And then boom, sets in for the north-south. So yeah, that was great. Like, and what I love about that too is like you can't get a strangle any further, or you can't get a submission that's any further away from the legs than that. And it was like, you're not going to be anywhere near my legs by the time I finish this fight. So that was great. And then on to Daniel's final match, in Absolute. This was, now we got to watch this guy across the mat. Finals was a huge bracket, so this was the winner of bracket B, I guess you could say. And one thing we immediately noticed about this guy, he was a good wrestler. He basically had a slide by that he would try to hit, or throw by, whatever you want to call it. That was his main technique that he was working from standing position. So it was like, all right, well, we want Daniel. Daniel's well versed in wrestling, so he wasn't too intimidated by that. And he's going to be hard to throw by too. So Daniel goes in and plays his game.
Yeah, we got the opportunity to watch a couple of his matches prior to, and to your point, the slide by was the thing. And right there he goes for it, right? Yep. And I think he does it once or twice where he's trying to, go for that slide by, and Daniel's having none of it. He's well prepared for the situation, listens well, and is super focused. So
gets this Russian tie, which is a great counter for that.
Mm-hmm. And then fireman's
yeah, dude,
and dumps him, which is beautiful.
So great. He's like, hey, I can wrestle too.
And then, once he gets out of this, and this was someone who put in a lot of work in earlier matches, and Daniel, as soon as he gets his right leg free from this nothing submission, people do this.
The right arm.
It drives me bonkers. I get it. You can set up triangles from here. It's so few and far between, but he holds onto that arm, and as soon as Daniel gets the arm free, it's game over.
So Daniel and I were rolling, I think last week or the week prior, and I briefly had that same sort of configuration, always looking for the intention of maybe like Danny, number one guy I've ever known to just hit reverse triangles for me. He does it better than anybody. He's the only one that I'm like afraid of when I get that. And Daniel asked, he's like, is there anything there that I'm missing? Like, is there any danger there? And I was like, besides rolling with Danny, no, there's really no thing there's no submission that you really have to look out for. So he was, you know, this was, I hope that was fresh in his mind. And he's like, yeah, let me have that. Let me get that back, and then let me get on with it.
And yeah, once he sinks that in, it's, I mean, immediate tap. Yeah, you can see there's like a panic tap there.
Yeah.
And just another thing in that whole arm trap thing, literally all you have to do is pin your left ear to their hip. So if you're, you know, Daniel's shaking it loose, obviously, but he's keeping his head low.
Mm-hmm.
And for him to be able to hit that reverse triangle, he has to get his hips past the shoulder line. Using your head to pin there completely shuts down the technique. So you can pull it out, you feel the hips pop up, you shoot your head past, and there's no submission there anymore. So it's, you know, it's one of those things that's like it's a trick. It might work once or twice, but once you realize what's there, you're like, okay, the trick's over.
Yeah.
I'm gonna shut this down.
Yeah. So that was it, man. Daniel took gold in absolute after a hell of a day. Great matches. Like you said, man, no points scored on him. Graciously finished all the matches very quickly. This was after a long day. Yeah, we were all really hungry.
So that was I appreciate that personally.
Yeah, man. So that was it. That was a hell of a day. And I think one of our best showings as a school in the history of the school. So we won the team medal. I think we were far and away, like, I mean, I don't even remember what the second place team had, but we had like 610 points. I think the next team had like 400 something. So we dominated, man. It was awesome. And our kids did great too. A lot of the kids had great showings that surprised some of us. Some of the kids didn't surprise us one bit because a couple of them are all little monsters and are killers. So really, really proud day for all us coaches, I think.
Absolutely.
14 golds. That was the count for the school? I mean, that's amazing. Missed my one straight ankle that Luke yelled break it during.
Oh yeah,
That's
right.
Yeah.
Oh shit, okay. I
Bad
guess you
loss.
did have four matches in. Okay.
So I knew we missed it, and I was like, all right, I guess we're not going to play this one.
Well, we
And,
don't play the audio for that reason.
Thank God. Yeah.
Yeah, I missed. So we'll get Joe's match that was like heavily truncated, and then I'll try to find your match, Steven. I know we have all of them. This was all just pulled from one phone. So yeah, we'll get everything together, and we could go over that too. So in any case, thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. Thanks to everybody who competed. It was really, really awesome. And yeah, for everybody who learned some lessons, you know how we do it. Get back to the training room, and we'll work on everything that we need to work on to get you ready for the next comp. So
We all have notes, right?
Yeah.
Like for all of us.
yeah, even the winners, we all have stuff to improve. So yeah, thank you guys. We really appreciate you tuning in. Thanks, Luke, for joining us as always for the competition footage breakdown. Yeah, we'll follow us here, subscribe here, use your Twitch Prime if you can. Subscribe over at YouTube at youtube.com/@MooresvilleBJJ. We'll post this up there for you guys to look it over if you want any more notes from your matches. And yeah, we're back to class tomorrow. We're moving on to Open Guard. Next week starts Open Guard week. So be ready for that. That'll flow in nicely with some of what we saw you guys doing today. So be ready for it. And before then, as always, trim your nails and do your laundry, and don't come to class stinking. So we will see you guys there. Take it easy.
Thanks,
Later.
guys.